Hi guys, Sabarish here, and today we're going to start with Edge Locations and the ways to interact with AWS services. So let's see what Edge Locations are. Let me open this note. Okay, let's start with an example here. Let us say that there is a sender who's trying to call, it's not actually a sender. Let's say this guy here is trying to call up this receiver here, and so what process is going to happen here is that when he calls, his call gets directed to a transmitter or a radio tower, which gets directed to a satellite, and then the signals are sent to a receiver tower, from which the receiver tower will send it to the receiver at the end, the user. So but there are two towers here, and which one will that choose? In this case, it will choose this one because it is in close proximity with the receiver, and not this one because it might create some latency issues because it is far from the user. So the most preferred one will be the close one. So this is the same case for AWS services. So let's say that there is a user here present in India who wants to use a service, an AWS service. It is an optimal solution to use a service that has a data center that is present in India rather than going all the way to Australia or USA, somewhere like that. So it is like the better idea here. So those are what edge locations are. Edge locations are just data centers of AWS organization that are present close to the in close proximity to the user. And what are the services that use edge locations are Amazon CloudFront and Amazon Route 53. So Amazon CloudFront is a content delivery network, a CDN. So Amazon CloudFront is a service that helps to deliver data, video, API, etc. to customers around the world with low latency and higher transfer speed. Low latency here refers to the slow or the late transmission of data. And CloudFront uses edge locations. Why does it use it? To help accelerate communication with the user. And this here represents the logo of CloudFront. And edge locations apart from CloudFront also run Amazon Route 53. It's a domain name service, a DNS, and it helps in directing customers to the right web locations with reliably low latency. And it handles domain registration and helps in routing users' internet requests to your application. This is all for edge locations. There are more towards it, but it's not covered in this video. And now we move on to the next topic, which is ways to interact with AWS services. So let's start with that. Many applications use APIs so that you don't have to directly use a service, but you can use it with a medium in between that. So that is what is done by API. It's an application programming interface. So AWS services has provides you three ways to interact with that, and the three are AWS Management Console, AWS Command Line Interface (CLI), and AWS Software Development Kits (SDKs). And all these three help in creating requests to send it to the API to create and manage AWS resources. So let's start with AWS Management Console. It's a browser-based way to interact with AWS service, and this is how it will look like. And here you can see that you just have to log into your AWS account, and when you go here to services, you can get into this console where you can choose all the services that are provided by AWS. And it's really helpful for building test environments, viewing AWS builds, etc. The major disadvantage for this is that you'll have to choose all the functionalities for creating a new EC2 instance manually. So once you want to use the EC2 instance here, you'll have to choose all the functionalities for that. And for creating a new EC2 instance, you'll have to give the inputs of all the functions again and again, over and over again, and that is the disadvantage here. So let's move on to the next one. It is AWS Command Line Interface (CLI). So it helps in making API calls using terminal on your local machine. You have to download a software for that to use the terminal, and it makes it less susceptible to human errors. As you can see, it is more of like all the functions are added and what kind of criteria you need for those. etc. And comparatively this is preferred over AWS Management Console, because with this you just have to copy this to your clipboard, and you just have to copy paste it again. You don't have to enter the functions again and again if you want to create a new instance. The next is AWS Software Development Kits, SDKs. They interact with AWS resources through various programming languages, and the supported languages here are C++, Java, and .NET. So what are the other ways to provision AWS resources? And this is where a very important service comes in, which is AWS Elastic Beanstalk. So what it does is that it allows us to provision Amazon EC2 instances, So, but how is it different from the other ones we have seen earlier? So here it says that instead of writing codes manually or working on the management console, you can provide your application code and the desired configurations to Elastic Beanstalk service. So you will have to provide the code and the desired configurations, and you don't really have to work the backend part of that. So here is the diagram depicting the work of AWS Beanstalk. So it takes care of all the functions required to build an instance with the desired conditions. So you can see here that you just have to provide the criteria and the code here. All the backend work, the security groups, the auto scaling group, and the security group that stores the database, and all the EC2 instances are all done by Beanstalk itself. So you get to focus on the business application and not on the infrastructure. So it saves a lot of time and resources for you. The next one is AWS Cloud Formation. This is another service that helps in provisioning that, and here it is a infrastructure as a code tool that is used to define a wide variety of AWS resources using JSON or YAML based documents called Cloud Formation templates. So the series of process that happens here starts with defining the resources in a Cloud Formation template, and then you pass the template into Cloud Formation, and then it begins provisioning the resources that you require for your application. So that is all for this video.